The following content has been provided by RWTH Aachen University.
What should I draw here?
One more line with a triangle, circle, and a square.
One?
No. You just continue the tendency with the same three subjects on the top or down.
Mm-hmm. So if I would to draw these exact shape, not continue it in some way, but just this. If you had to describe to me when I'm not seeing it, what should I draw?
Three shapes in horizontal.
Okay, now we have two different opinions here. One is draw three shapes next to each other. The other one was draw a triangle, circle, and a square, and repeat that over 3 lines. And both are correct. It's the law of similarity. So actually what answer we get here most of the time is actually the one telling you, well, I have 3 triangles under each other, 3 circles, and 3 squares. But also they are similar for each line. So no one would tell me draw a triangle, draw a circle, draw a square, then draw a triangle, draw a circle, draw a square. But you would group them there together, tell them, well, this is similar to this one, or go the way you have this similar, and this similar. And the reason why this is a little counterintuitive maybe, because it goes against the normal reading direction that we're having in the Western culture, that you go from left to right. So actually perceiving these as one unit, these as one unit, and these as one unit is sort of counterintuitive, but it's still working in that case. And so what to take out of this is, if you have similar shapes and then you have one that you want to promote or make stand out, you can use a different shape for that, because that will then automatically stand out. And if you remember the power plant image we had last week, so you shouldn't have a similar switch for the light or a similar switch for melting down the core, because, well, if they're close to each other, they look the same, well, you might get them mixed up. And we've actually seen a image of some changes that workers did in power plants, where they actually glued beer taps onto the different levers, because they looked the same before, and now they had a distinct different appearance when they glued the beer taps on there. And what this also points to is that, well, you shouldn't move your stuff around, so it should stay in similar positions, and similar tasks should have the same position. And yes, because otherwise you might get confused. You will take a different, click a different button that the one you intended to. And the last thing, well, similar doesn't mean that it needs to be constant. So if I have 3 triangles, they don't, well, these are sort of similar, but it also works if they just grow over time. So they still, they are not constant, but you would group them together or perceive them as similar items there. So one example where this is problematic from the old ages of the internet, a newsletter reading interface, where the buttons that you see down here, they're only as long as the word that you have in there. So basically the engineer going, why do I want to use more space? It's just put the button just as long as they need to. So in the end, you, for example, have quit, read, next, and previous, since they have all 4 letters, have the same size. And you think, or at least when you look at that, they look similar. So just from looking at them directly without reading, you wouldn't be able to pass them. And another problem there would be if you resized the window, the buttons would actually wrap around, so that the post button, if I make it smaller, might actually end up in the next line or just wander through this line. So you couldn't just remember where it was. You had to read it every time again, go through that, and that takes down a longer time. So keep things similar and the way you want them to. Actually, I have no idea what quit and exit, where the difference is, and why exit is somewhere in here. So is it important? Is it not? Do you have any idea how you could improve this? Improve this interface there. Yes?
For next and previous, for example, you could use arrows as it's commonly
Yes.
done today.
Yes, you can use icons to make it more standing out what the actual purpose of the button is. And even better, you can put them both together, because very often you have an icon and you stand there and, well, what does it do? Well, there's a square with another square. What does it mean? If you have a label then next to it, then if you don't immediately know from the icon, you can get the information directly from the label. All right, next one. What do you see here? What should I draw? You.
Across.
A cross. So
Designed cross.
a badly designed cross where I just got to tire it in the end. So you would say, well, one line this and the other one like that. Yes, and that is called the law of continuity. So you would assume that this is one line and this is the other line. If you are romantic and a bird lover, you could say, well, there's two birds kissing. But that is actually not an answer we get here very often. It's more, well, this and this belongs together. And this also works in music, for example. If you have a tone that goes down gradually and you have one that goes up gradually, you perceive them as they were before, even after they crossed. How do music cross? I'm not sure. But yeah, if one's going down in pitch, the other one's going up, you perceive them as straight belonging together. And that, yeah, even works if they work at the same time. Yes. So next one, what do I have here? A what? A W. Also interesting. I'm hearing stuff one at a time, or go all at once. So what was here? Someone?
E, line E.
An E falling on the back, or a W if you go like this. Yes, and there's also cognitive compression there at work. It could say, well, I have one line, a shorter line, and then a longer line again, or and then a bar at the bottom, or it goes, well, if I tilt my head to the side, it looks like an E, so I will just remember E falling on its back. And that is called the law of experience, where you try to file in what you see into what you already know. And that is also a lot quicker to store than trying to remember the three lines and a bottom there. And calling that a bottom is also experience. This is in effect in operating systems by metaphors that are used. So the most prominent one, well, is the desktop metaphor, that I have my display there, which is two-dimensional, standing vertically in front of me. But what is mimicked there is a desktop. I can move files around. I have my folders. I have my trash can. I'm not sure about you, but my trash can is actually under the table, not on it. But it still works to link it to stuff that we already know. And to go here, if I would draw this, what is this?
could be a B or a 13.
B or 13, correct. It actually depends on the context. If you would just see it like this, might tend more to say 13. But if you would add something around it, then it becomes clear, well, this will likely be a B. So your experience also depends on what is around it, what other things are there to work with. All right, then let's get to this one. Well, what do you see here? Boxes moving. Yes, so you have here this square moving around here. And that, even though they're individual pixels, you'd still perceive them as one unit. So it's called the law of common fate or law of common movement, where when something's moving around or animating together, it looks as if they belong together. And we also actually call that sometimes the tiger law, because if you remember the old times where you were in the jungle and you were going through the woods and you see some stripes moving behind some leaves there, well, you should be pretty fast in parsing. That might be a tiger, and I shouldn't stop here but run away. And yeah, there the moving entities that you see help to get or perceive the grand picture there. Yes, and that is something you should keep in mind, that if something's animating or something's flashing, something moves around, this actually grabs the attention for once, and it also you perceive it as belonging together. So, for example, if you have something like this, even though the fonts, the sizes, or the color are completely different, you still perceive that this blinking text works together. And funny anecdote there, the blink tag that websites used was actually just developed in a bar where they thought of that as a joke, and one developer just got back and programmed that in overnight, and they didn't document that, but it wasn't never killed, and so the blink tag was born. And people abused this, because if you were on websites that do this, you get angry a lot. So also here, this immediately grabs your attention and you perceive this working together in this advertisement.
This content was provided by RWTH Aachen University.